Hey everyone, so this is going to be your video to show you how to download R in RStudio. The first thing we're going to do is download R. The second thing we're going to do is download RStudio. So I'm going to share screen with my desktop. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is look at the R kind of download window. So you're going to be finding something on the Comprehensive R Archive Network, and you're going to get to this page, right? There's going to be a few different options for downloading. And this totally depends on the operating system you have. If you are a Mac user, I highly, highly, highly recommend updating your Mac to the most recent operating system possible. That'll make things a lot easier generally. I often find that undergrads have not updated their computers in a very long time. So if you're one of those folks, I encourage you to update. It'll help you a lot. We're going to start with the Mac download. If you're a Windows user, ignore this, and I'll talk about the Windows download here in a second. So if you are a Mac user, there are two different chip options that your computer might be using. If you have a recent Mac, you're going to have an M1 or M2 chip. This is the actual like Mac made chip that they're now using. You're going to download this first link. For those of you that have an older chip, an older Intel Mac, you're going to download the second one. The best way for you to find this out is you're going to go to About This Mac and see mine says Apple M1 right here. That means I definitely need to do this first download option. It would say something like Intel yada, yada, yada if you don't have that. Or if it just doesn't have M1 or M2, download the second one, right? That's this one right here. Okay, so that's the way to think about the Mac download. For Windows users, you'll click that. And then you'll just do install R for the first time. Pretty straightforward. So that's how you download R. To download RStudio, you're going to get to a page like this. It's like posit.co/download. And then it'll tell you if you haven't installed R to do it here. And then if you want to download RStudio, it should tell you, it should know what operating system you're using. And so it'll just say mine is Mac OS. So it says, do you want to download for Mac OS? You'll click this one. And then it'll show and populate an RStudio download. Both of these, if you download R and download RStudio, it'll come up here. You're going to double click this and run through the install for both of them. And once you've done that download and they're all set and going, you're going to launch RStudio and not R. So this is something I talked about in the other videos. You're going to launch RStudio here and it'll come up. And again, there's a lot of stuff in mine because I'm actively using it. But this is what it kind of will look like for you. Yours just is going to look a lot cleaner and maybe use some different colors. And so just some things to think about and to note. When you download the data set for this homework, if you just try to like open it out of your downloads folder, it is not going to work. You have to go through this import process. Okay. Make sure you're doing that. So you have to import data set. In this case, it's from SPSS. If you don't do this process and you don't get to this window, it's not going to work. Okay. I encourage you to think about if you're having troubles following this method instead. The other thing to note too is if I give you an RMD file, like if you have an RMD file to download for this class, you're going to do a file open file. And then just open a file as you normally would. You just open the RMD file, super easy. And then the other issue that I've seen people have is in one of those videos I said, and whenever you have a code or a piece of code that says library, so it would look something like this. So please look down here on the bottom left console. It'll say library, something like tidyverse. I definitely, mention that whenever you have that, you have to run the install packages first. I'm not always going to have that code in there because I've already run it. But if you're getting an error that says tidyverse does not exist or tidyverse isn't there, it's because the package is not installed. So if you ran something like this, like down here, library tidyverse, and got an error, what you need to do is run install packages and then in quotes, write tidyverse first, install the package, and then load the library. So that's the other kind of big error that I've seen people making. But other than that, generally people are doing a good job. As a reminder too, you're going to be writing in these R chunks. This is where you put your active code inside of these. If you start to type over here, you see it breaks the chunk. And so you have to make sure to keep that chunk intact and right in between these two lines, line 14 and line 9, for example. Otherwise, R is not gonna know where that chunk starts and stops. You can do any sort of typing you want out here and it will not affect your code. If you type in here, it will affect your code and break it. So make sure you're not doing that. And any other kind of issues or problems that you're having, just let me know. Again, like this is, I try to make it as interactive as possible via Discord. Send me a screenshot of your error code. Let me know what's going on. The earlier you do this and troubleshoot before the midterm, the better your grade's going to be in term, because we'll have time to troubleshoot before you're actively taking the test. So just let me know if you're having any issues, and I look forward to hearing from you guys as we move forward.